The 3 wolf stories are selected from Mr. Pu Sungling's Strange Stories from a Chinese studio Liaozhai. These stories all depict a butcher encountering wolves and killing them under different circumstances. The first story focuses on portraying the greed of the wolf's nature, the second story emphasizes the wolf's cunning tricks, and the third story highlights the sharp claws of the wolf. However, in each case, the wolf ends up being killed, affirming the butcher's just actions and clever strategies. Although each story has its own unique and intricate plot, they are closely related, forming a complete and unified whole. The first wolf story places emphasis on depicting the wolf's greedy nature. Once upon a time, a butcher was returning home in the evening after selling his meat. The sky had already darkened. Suddenly, a wolf appeared. The wolf kept eyeing the meat the butcher was carrying, and saliva seemed to be dripping from its mouth. It followed the butcher for quite a distance. Feeling scared, the butcher waved his knife to scare off the wolf. The wolf backed off a few steps, but as soon as the butcher turned around and continued walking, the wolf followed again. The butcher thought that the wolf wanted the meat, so he decided to hang the meat on a tree so the wolf couldn't reach it. He planned to take the meat back in the morning after the wolf had left. He hung the meat on a hook, tiptoed to hang the hook on a tree, and then showed the empty basket to the wolf. The wolf stopped following him. The butcher safely returned home. The next morning at dawn, the butcher went to the place where he had hung the meat. He saw a large object hanging on the tree from a distance. It looked like a person hanging from the tree, and he was terrified. Cautiously, he approached the tree, and upon closer inspection, he realized that it was a dead wolf hanging from the tree. The wolf's mouth was clamped around a piece of meat, and the hook had pierced through the wolf's upper jaw, resembling a fish caught on a hook. Wolf pelts were quite valuable in the market, and this pelt was worth a substantial amount of silver. The wolf's greed led to its downfall, just like a cat climbing a tree to catch fish. The second wolf story focuses on portraying the wolf's deceitful tricks. Once upon a time, a butcher was returning home in the evening. He had sold all the meat, and only bones were left in his basket. There were 2 wolves on the road, following closely behind him for a long distance. Feeling scared, the butcher threw the bones to one of the wolves. This wolf stopped chasing him, while the other one continued following. He threw bones to the second wolf as well. The second wolf stopped, but the first one kept following. The butcher was out of bones, yet both wolves continued to pursue him. The butcher was in a difficult situation, worrying about attacks from both wolves. He spotted a nearby wheat field with a haystack piled up, resembling a small hill. The butcher ran there, leaned against the haystack, and put down his basket, taking out a knife. The wolves didn't dare approach him. After a while, one wolf left, while the other sat in front of the butcher like a dog. Eventually, the wolf seemed to close its eyes, looking very relaxed. Suddenly, the butcher jumped up, slashed the wolf's head with the knife, and then struck it several more times until the wolf was dead. Afterward, he looked behind the haystack and saw the other wolf trying to dig a hole, attempting to attack the butcher from behind. The wolf's body was halfway inside the hole, only exposing its bottom and tail. The butcher cut off the wolf's hind leg from behind, killing it. The butcher realized that the first wolf had pretended to be sleeping to deceive him. Wolves could be so cunning. Yet in an instant, both wolves were killed. Their deceptive methods were nothing compared to a human's cleverness. The third wolf story highlights the sharp claws of the wolf, but ultimately, the wolf meets its end at the hands of the butcher. Once upon a time, a butcher was walking on the road in the evening, chased closely by a ferocious wolf. Along the road was a temporary shelter made by a farmer who worked the night shift. The butcher hurried into the shelter and hid inside. The wolf extended a paw through the thatch curtain of the shelter, and the butcher quickly caught hold of the paw to prevent it from escaping. However, he didn't know how to kill the wolf. All he had was a small knife that was less than an inch long. He used it to cut the wolf's skin under the paw, and then blew air into the paw as if blowing a pig's bladder. The butcher blew with all his might for a long time, and when he felt the wolf's resistance decrease, he tied the wolf's leg with a rope. When he finally looked at the wolf, He saw that the wolf's body had swollen up like a cow. Its forelegs stood straight, unable to bend, and its mouth was wide open but couldn't close. The butcher carried the wolf's bloated body away. If it weren't for the butcher, who else could have devised such a method? These 3 incidents all happened to the butcher. So, if the butcher could be cruel in slaughtering animals, he could also use that cruelty to kill wolves.
Alright, this story has come to an end. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. Thank you.